Hello, my name is Alex. I'm a patchwork nerd, and it has been a while since I've done one of these. An update on my novel, not a video, although it has been a while since I've done a video, but awkward segue! If you followed my channel for a while, you will know that I am a writer and I am currently writing my first novel, but I haven't done a novel update since May of last year, and a lot of things have changed, so I figured it is about time that I give you guys an update. In my previous update, I had announced and talked through several videos about the novel that I was working on, Strange, a manuscript, and something changed. There's been developments, so I'm just gonna give you guys a lowdown on everything that is going on with my writing process and everything that I am hoping to accomplish and my plans for this year with my novel. So let's go. First of all, you might have noticed this if you follow me on social media, but just in case you don't, I have an update. I am no longer working on my novel, Strange, a manuscript. I have decided to shelf that story for the time being. I mostly did it because I feel like my skill level is just not there yet as far as being able to provide that story with the quality that it needs. And I decided that I needed to work on a more simple project for my first novel, and I will hopefully come back to it sometime soon. But for now, I have changed gears, and the project that I am working on is actually the novel I wrote for NaNoWriMo. The name of the novel is called To Market, and it is the story of a young girl named Nina whose family has been banished to this wasteland called the Umber to live a life of exile, and the Umber is known for being full of just decay and evil, monstrous creatures, and most fearfully are the hags that populate the area. And it is rumored that hags will try to find children and eat them, as they do in many, many folktales. And unfortunately, Nina's brother Malor is kidnapped by the hags and taken to a place called the market. The market is a traveling market. It rides on chicken legs and roams around the Umber, and Nina must enter the market to find her brother and save him. But what she doesn't realize is there is something far worse than the risk of being eaten that waits for both her and her brother in the market. This story is very much inspired by Baba Yaga and Hansel and Gretel. I'm just hoping to make this story just as atmospheric as it sounds in its synopsis, and fingers crossed that I can do that. I actually started this as a short story from my series called Haunt Patch, and I didn't finish it because it just kept feeling like I couldn't contain the story within 3 20-minute parts, and I realized that I needed to expand the story into a novel, and here we are. I wrote the first draft for NaNoWriMo of 2017, and I'm going to be starting draft 2 in February. The month of January has been spent working on some world building and character development that I didn't have time to do before NaNoWriMo. I'm also going to be reworking the middle bits of the story because I feel like there's a few saggy parts that need some editing, and I am so excited for this story. I love anything to do with just dark, decaying atmospheres and strange creatures, and I love anything to do with witchcraft or just the bizarre and the occult. So it's very interesting. I'm not sure if it's going to be young adult or adult at this point. I want to just kind of let the story decide for itself because the protagonists are actually only 12 years old. It's very horrific in a lot of ways, and it is very disturbing in a lot of ways, so it might morph into kind of like an Ocean at the End of the Lane type of story where the protagonist is a young child, but it has adult themes in it, so it's technically adult. I'm thinking it's probably going to go that direction, and I would classify the genre of this story as dark fantasy, kind of bobbing on the edge of horror, because it is in this fantastical world, but there are so many bizarre, strange, creepy things happening in it that I definitely feel like it treads that horror line. I just can't wait to see how it comes together in the second draft. As I stated in my previous videos for NaNoWriMo, I almost saw the first draft as what I called sandbox mode, and that was where I just played with it. I had an outline, but I sometimes need to write a whole story and explore an outline before I can really decide if it's going to work, and I know that's kind of odd compared to traditional outlining methods, but a lot of times I actually need to be in the setting and I need to be playing around with the idea to see if it's going to be what I want the story to become. And there were a lot of things that were new that I introduced as I was writing, and there was a lot of things that I scrapped along the way, and it was kind of like I was patchwork quilting it all together. And yes, I understand how hilarious it is that I'm saying patchwork right now, but it's true. The story was just cut up and sewn back together, and it became this weird Frankenstein's monster of a story. And that's kind of what I wanted to feel like. I want it to feel just a little unsettling around every corner, and every time you think you found a smooth, seamless part of it, I want you to see the stitches, and I want you to be disturbed by that, if that makes sense. This month has been all about development for my story, and I'm very excited about that because it's been getting to know my characters better, it's been getting to know my setting better, it's been developing what I want to change about the traditional folk tales that I'm kind of loosely basing this story off of, and it's so exciting and invigorating, and I hope I can keep that momentum up because I am planning a pretty intense writing schedule. Starting in February, I want to write 2 chapters a week for the month of February, and then 3 chapters a week for the month of March, and then I will write 3 chapters a month in April until I finish up the novel right around the end of April. So also, if you're wanting to beta read this story, just keep an ear out because I'll probably start looking for beta readers and collecting emails in about March, I want to say. So if you're interested, feel free to email me at patchworknerd your information and just let me know that you want to be a beta reader, because the more the merrier, I say. I don't know, maybe I'm biting off more than I can chew with trying to write a book in essentially 3 months, but I'm optimistic because why can't I? Why can't I write a novel in 3 months? I've written a novel in a month. 3 times, 4 times if you count Camp NaNoWriMo. 5 times if you count Camp NaNoWriMo. It's doable. It's just how I prioritize my time. And I have been definitely taking on more projects. I've started doing freelance writing. I am trying to be actively engaged in my Patreon page so that my supporters know that I'm out there and I'm doing stuff, and I am trying to be more engaged online, and I'm trying to update my Instagram more, and there's so many little things that I'm doing, and I feel like instead of wearing the big hat of writer, I'm wearing all these tiny little hats all at once, and it's fun. It's fun to explore all these possibilities. Usually when I do these novel updates, I try to put like a little nugget of wisdom in them. I try not to just have it be me talking just about myself and what I'm working on. Honestly, all I can say is sometimes you just need to just get to work and not dwell on the fact that things have changed or that you were working on something different in the past. I'm glad that I'm just not hyper focusing on things. Instead, I'm trying to remain positive. And I know it might not seem like it with these videos, but it's very hard for me to naturally feel optimistic. I try to put out the energy that I want to receive back from the world, if that makes sense. So I try to encourage kindness, and I try to encourage supporting one another, and I try to just promote warm, happy, fuzzy thoughts because I feel like the world so desperately needs more. There was a point where I felt guilty about needing to change stories, but I'm reading Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she talks about how it's okay to let ideas go because sometimes they're not meant to be for you. And I still need to finish that book, and I'm hoping to do a book talk on that sometime in the near future. But that was something that I really took to heart, is don't sit around and focus on the ideas lost. Instead, focus on the ideas standing right in front of you. So I guess that could be our nugget of wisdom for today, is that it's okay to change paths and it's okay to explore new things. The main thing is to not be wishy-washy. If I were changing novels every other month and never writing more than like 5,000 words, then we would need to talk. And then we would need to buckle down. But I have a plan of action, and I'm slowly starting to practice putting more and more energy into my projects throughout the week. So hopefully by the time it comes down to me needing to write my 2 chapters per week, we'll be able to do it. And if you guys are interested in me like vlogging that process or kind of giving you updates on how things are going, just leave that in the comments down below, because I'm always trying to figure out what kind of content you guys want to see from me. And I feel like I'm starting to get away from more the like formal, I'm going to tell you 10 things not to do when you're supposed to do this for writing, and I feel like I more enjoy having these conversations with you guys and making things more interactive as opposed to me just staring at the camera and being like, this is what you need to do to be successful with writing. Because one, I guess I'm not confident enough in myself to say that this is the end-all advice for any particular thing. And also, I just feel like it really depends on who you are as a writer. I can offer you tons of pieces of advice, but not everything is going to work for you, and not everything is going to fit you. And yes, there are definitely some things that you should try to adhere to with writing, but I more want my videos to be an open discussion for us to share how our journeys are going and what we're doing on our journeys. So if you have any ideas of how we can introduce more of those elements into these videos, please let me know, because I want to show you guys more of just everything that I do. I want us to start a conversation. I want this to be more like a dialogue than I want it to be a speech, if that makes any sense at all. Today's video is definitely more of a ramble. It's more of me just kind of trying to get my feet back in the water, and I hope to dive back in and have some really good content for you guys. And I'm hoping to just keep growing this channel and keep growing this community and keep growing this discussion about writing that I want us to continue having until the end of time, because I can talk about writing until the end of time. Like, that's my jam. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, or you can tweet me at patchworknerd. Also join me every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on Twitter for #WritersPatch, where a bunch of writers come together, mostly talk about cookies, also talk about writing, and it is a grand old time. If you would like to help support me, feel free to click the link down below to my Patreon page and make a monthly pledge to help me make all this crazy crap that I'm making, and it's a grand old time. It gives you sneak peeks at things that I'm doing, writing samples, a weekly newsletter, as well as my monthly live stream for patrons only. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Toodles!